Hi everyone, welcome to the Knitting Den. This is episode number 115 and today is Tuesday, June the 10th. My name's Denise. I'm also known as Knitting Den on Ravelry and Instagram. Welcome if you're watching for the first time. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the podcast and come back and join us again. And I want to welcome back returning viewers. If you are returning, you'll notice I look like I'm on location. I'm actually on my front porch this morning. I've been trying a lot of different seats on the front porch to see what the best lighting is. I don't think this is the best lighting, so I don't think I'm going to sit here the whole episode. I might sit opposite in that chair. But I wanted to sit here for a couple of minutes and, you know, just so you could see the trees behind me, as opposed to when I move over there, you're going to see the front door behind me. It's very tricky to get the lighting right. I was going to just give you a little pan around, and then you can see, or you might not be able to see because it's quite bright. See, if I have that background behind me, then you could tell from the column I would be very dark. You wouldn't see me very clearly. So, and if I go this way, I still think it's very shady, even though you can see the nice bright trees out the front. So, hope I'm not making you dizzy there. I am going to swap seats in a minute when we get started with the podcast. Before that, I want to say a special welcome to new members of the Ravelry group, and that is especially to Third Cookie, or Cookie as I would say it. You've got no name on Ravelry, and I don't think I've said hello to you, but you did leave an introduction in the Ravelry group a couple of months ago, I think. So apologies for that, but welcome to the group, and welcome if you're watching the podcast, you know, if you're new to watching the podcast. I also want to say, that's a truck going by, I don't know how loud that is. I want to say welcome to Daryl, who is Poppy Cleo on Ravelry, and she's in New Zealand. Hi Daryl, and also to Tanya Marie, who is Tanya in Virginia, and she's the host of the Sampler Girl podcast, which I had not heard of, so thanks for leaving an introduction and telling me that. I think it's an audio podcast. I think I saw somewhere that you mentioned something about a video podcast too, and that your audio podcast was better. I'm not sure where I saw that. Let me know if you have a video podcast too. Now I can feel the breeze, and I'm not sure if that's going to be quite noisy on the camera either, so I think I'm going to stop here for a second and we're going to change seats. So I've moved chairs. As you can see, the front door's behind me now, and we have a stucco wall here, but I'd rather it look, the lighting be better than, you know, for when I show you things. I'm going to keep adjusting this for a second. I'd rather that you have better lighting than, you know, me being in shadow at the other side. Before we get started, I was going to just pan around from this angle. I'll show you where I was sitting, and you can see up the driveway and that. I think I have to flip the camera first, so hold on. That's where I was sitting, and as you can see, there's a lot of shade and the sun is behind on the trees, but that's not the best option for recording. It would be nice if I could sit there and get some lighting worked out. I am going to pan around and show you the angle from here, if I don't make you too dizzy. And if you notice, look, it's looking green. All of the trees and the scrub oaks have turned green. They've got their leaves on. Our grasses leaves a lot to be desired. But that's my driveway, and if I keep going, I'm going to stand up so I can pan around. It's all dark. It's nice and sunny this morning. And there's my front door. So, let's get sat down again. Okay, let's start the show, shall we? Now that we're all settled. I'm going to be glancing to the left here and just adjusting this again. Should have done that before I hit the record button. I'll be glancing to the left because that's where my iPad is for some notes. So before the knitting content, let's have a little chat. And I've got a little chat in Girly Chatter too. But I hope you've all had a great week. I thought I'd tell you a little about my week. I'm going to have to glance over and try to remind myself about it. Now, if you hear rustling, that's the trees, the leaves rustling. It sounds lovely, but I hope it's not going to affect the podcast too much and make it too noisy. If I find when I edit this that the sound is terrible, then I just won't record out here anymore. Let's see. This past week, the weather was still kind of crazy. On Wednesday I went out to book club, but it was more like a social evening. We went to a local country club instead of reading a book this month. It was very, very windy, extremely windy. Oh, a moth flying around. And but we sat out on the patio and they lowered the shades just to stop the wind, but it didn't really. It seemed to make it worse because then you could hear this shade, big plastic shade rattling with the gusts of wind. But we still had a nice time sitting on the patio. It was from 6 o'clock and we were only there for a couple of hours or two and a half hours. It was still light when we left at 8:30ish. And then on Friday it was the monthly neighbourhood social, which is called Wine Around the Ranch. I've mentioned it before, and hubby and I went out to that for a couple of hours as well. I think we got a huge thunderstorm early in the afternoon that day, but by the time we went to, it's amazing how it changes, by the time we went to the neighbour's house, the host, the people hosting, the sun was out, and most people here have really nice decks with gorgeous views. The sun was shining out on her back deck, and we sat out there, and it was a beautiful evening. It was just amazing how the weather changes within a couple of hours here. Yesterday morning, still speaking about the weather, we had frost on the rooftops. Frost! So yeah, the tomato plants I planted out the back, and a couple of strawberry plants, and some peas I think I put out there, totally gone. They didn't make it. I don't think we're guaranteed anything until after June by the way things are going this year. I might buy a few tomato plants up at Lowe's or Home Depot, but probably not till the end of this month. And then Saturday, still speaking about weather, I was at Estes Park, which I'll talk about that later. Hubby texted me. He stayed home. He had to work, and it was good because he was here with the dogs. And he texted me and it just said crazy hail here. So we were getting hail once again, and by the time I got home here, you would have thought someone had just dumped a bucket full of ice, like the tiny little clear ice that you get from Sonic in your drinks. That was all over the deck. It was crazy. I think it's supposed to warm up this week, and as I said, because it's a beautiful sunny day and it is warmer, I mean I'm sitting in sleeveless here, I thought I'd sit out on the deck with you, and fingers crossed that the wind or the breeze is not going to affect the noise or the quality of the sound too much. And let's see, got a couple of announcements before I move on to finished objects and works in progress, and I'm going to scoot up because I feel like I'm falling down on this chair. Announcements, a huge announcement, not really. I'm on YouTube. I put last week's episode on YouTube, and I've heard from a few of you saying thank you, that you were able to watch it, and I'm hoping to do that from now on. I'll still upload to Podcast Garden as well, because that's the one that shoots it off to iTunes, apparently. I hope it's still working. And I'm probably not going to put it on Blip from now on, because come July they're going to just cancel my account totally anyway, so I don't see the point in doing that. I will still put a link, or I actually embedded the YouTube video onto the blog this time, So you'll still be able to see it on the blog by clicking on the video on there. You'll be able to go to YouTube. I think some of you have subscribed. I'll put a link to the video each week in the Ravelry group and the podcast garden. I could probably put the link to that, and also I think it's automatically on iTunes for you. So hopefully I'm not going to have any further issues with that for now. If you do get the chance to watch this, I'm getting distracted because there's little things flying around. If you do get the chance to watch the podcast, I would really appreciate you leaving a comment in the thread this week, just to let me know where you watched it, you know, whether it was iTunes or if it's YouTube, or if you had any issues, or if you didn't have any issues. It would just be really nice to hear how it is this week for you all. Alright, one more thing before I get into the finished objects. Just a reminder that we now have the June finished object thread open in the Ravelry group. Each month I draw, and I'm saying this for any new viewers, I draw from a thread in the group anyone that's posted a picture of a finished object. You could have started it whenever, but if you finish it between June 1st and June 30th, post a picture and you have the chance to win a Kikiboo bag. And the Kikiboo bags are the bags I make. I have a little Etsy store, and I usually talk about that right at the very end of the podcast if I've got any updates to talk about. And this week I do have. So it's about time, and I'm scrolling up so I can see my notes, for finished objects. And once again, I'm just stopping and starting the podcast a few times in case I have any issues with the syncing. So, finished objects. Are you ready? She's finished, and I love her. And it's Mrs. Bakery Bear in all her glory. Give her a close-up. My eyes are always peeping through. Isn't she gorgeous? I am so happy with how she turned out. The pattern, I don't have the pictures of it. I didn't even bring the pattern that I had printed out for myself. Most of you will probably know the pattern is Mrs. Bakery Bear. It was released a few weeks ago by Kate Jones, and she is Bryony Bear on Ravelry. I think it's Bryony Bear, not Bryony Bears. I always get mixed up. This was her pattern she made. She's starting knitting bears for her daughter, who's called Bryony, and I think just lots of us fell in love. Ooh, I don't like that shoe's not the same height, same. There you go. Looks a bit better. A lot of us have fallen in love with this. She's currently working on a Mr. Bryony, not Bryony Bear, a Mr. Bakery Bear, and I'm not sure when. I think she might be showing that. They do have a podcast, and they being her Kay and her husband Dan, who live in England. I think they're going to show on their next podcast, which would be episode 4, they've only just started, they might be showing some of Mr. Bakery Bear. I think that's what they mentioned. Anyway, I did the dress exactly the same as Kay did, with green stripes and a little pink bow, and the shoes. The bear is knit in Cascade 220, and her clothes, most of it, this is Hobby Lobby's cotton, and the rest of it is Barocco's DK. I don't know, it's not cotton, I don't know if it's a cotton acrylic blend. Excuse me. So, love her, and she went on a little trip with us on Saturday, and you'll get to hear more about that in Girly Chatter. I don't want to put her down. She should just sit here and join us for the whole podcast, don't you think? But she doesn't sit on my shoulder very well. I will be starting another one. Kay, this is an absolutely fabulous pattern. And just like Mr. Turtle, who was one of my favourite knit toys that I just did recently, and that's a Susan Claudino pattern. I love her toys. I did the Turtle in the same yarn that she used, and it came out fabulous. And again, I think Kay has done some of her bears in Cascade 220. And I do like when my toys turn out exactly like the pattern, hence the reason even the dress is the same. At least the first one. I'll be making her again. I do have some 220 left, so I'm going to use that. She'll look the same colour, but I'll probably work on different colours swatting flies. Different colours for the dress and the shoes. This one is going off to my mommy. I mentioned that before. I'm going to send this to my mum in England and say thank you to her for everything she's taught me, really. I've just realised she's got a little, you can't see, look, she's got her nose, like a little catch on it, and pulled it. I have to flatten that down. As I was saying, Bindi, come here. Bindi's out on the porch with me and she's whining now. As I was saying, I wanted to thank my mum because she taught me how to bake, and she taught me how to knit, and she taught me how to not sew, because she never did have a sewing machine, but everything else I do in the house, all the housework, you know, ironing and just cleaning the house and knowing what to do. She taught me all that, so I'm going to say thank you and send her this little bear. And if you are watching for the first time, or if you can't remember and you've watched before, my mum is 88 and she lives on her own, but my sister and my brothers, you know, go around just about every day to see her. When my dad passed about 17 years now. So I always wish I was there with her. I'm going to put Mrs. Bakery Bear down. Excuse me for leaning over. That's the only finished object. So I'm going to move into works in progress. Works in progress I have right here with me. I've worked a lot on my draped lace shell. I was going to say leaf. Draped lace shell. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and here it is. I had it printed out in colour, just the first page. Last week I think I showed you, I'm sure I did. I showed you, but I'll show it again. You hear that whistling? Those are the hummingbirds going around. Breeze is picking up. Hope that's not too loud. I showed you the first, well, this is the back. This is the first side I did. I've blocked it quite a lot. I just wanted to make sure it fit. Now, again, I never make notes of names, and I do need to reply to you personally, but you who said to lie down, put on the floor a top, a similar top tank, and block this out to the same size. I need to reply to you. I hadn't had a chance, but I did do that. I did actually lay out a tank, and I lay out what I'm wearing. Now I think I'm going to have to stand up if I want to show you what I'm wearing. This is Soleil. I think that's how you see it. I did not make a note. I might add up in here information, and I can't even remember what yarn I used. I'm going to guess at Elspeth Laval's patina, a cotton, anyway, let me see if I can stand up. I've got stuff around here, so it's not doing very well. I'll stand up and then I'll kind of swing the video around thing. So I'm going to step back, and I'm getting it's too dark if I step too far back, so let me see if I can adjust that. So it's got a little lace, similar to what I'm knitting, a little lace edge, and the rest is just plain, and as you can see it's a V-neck. I love this top. It fits perfectly, and I've had it about, oh gosh, I don't know, quite a few years now. I guess it'll show on my Ravelry page when I knit it. Come back here with me. There you go. So I did lay this out, and I'm hoping, it just still looked small to me, but I'm hoping because I did that, it's going to fit. You know, the armhole, hopefully. This is the back, so it's not going to be like that. The front, as you can see, I'm actually increasing right now for the front because it's a little draped front shaping. So let me show you, hold on, excuse me, because my bag dropped on the floor. Let me show you what I'm nearly done. I was working on this a lot yesterday, getting right into it. And I'm knitting on straight needles, and I'm going to just repeat what I've said a couple of times for any new viewers. Go on, jump up. Bindy's trying to get up on the chair. Go on. I used to knit on straight needles. I was taught to knit on straight needles many, many years ago. But since getting back into knitting and Ravelry, you know, and all of the inspiration I see from other knitters, I switched to my circulars and I started doing magic loop instead of using DPNs. But I was checking my tension recently and I thought I would give it a go with straight needles. I got better tension, or gauge. I knit a little tighter on the straights. I'm a very loose knitter on the circulars. So I went to the straights, and I have mentioned before, I'm not enjoying it as much as the straights, but so I won't be making this a habit, but you know, it's coming out nice. So this is, see, it looks tiny before you block it. This is the front, and what I've started to do on the front is, there's the armhole, start decreasing, and then if I straighten it out a bit, you can see the shape. You then start increasing, and I think what happens is once you join this to your shoulder at the top, because of the extra stitches, but you match your shoulders, it's going to drape in the front. So I think that's going to be finished for next week. I'm sure it is, because I'm enjoying knitting it and I feel like I'm making a ton of progress, so I am happy to pick it up. So that's the only thing I've mainly worked on, because I got the bare finished too. But I do have one, try not to get it off the needles, I do have one other work in progress, because I put something new on the needles. The pattern, I showed you this last week, or the week before, and I'll just turn the page. It's a very small picture on the front. This is called Laresca. Yes, Laresca. This pattern, sorry, I didn't say it. Oh, I wasn't even going to try and pronounce the designer's name. Lien. You can pronounce that. But as I said, that one is a free pattern on Ravelry. This one is a paired pattern, but I liked the style, so I bought it and I went to my local yarn store and bought yarn. This is called Laresca by Corinne, can't read backwards, Karina Ferguson. And here is the top. It's not a very clear picture. And the insides I generally just print black and white. It has some pattern around here and the pattern goes all the way down the sides. Not around the bottom though. So I did start it, and where's my label? And we'll just shoot back to this again, because I didn't tell you what I'm knitting it in. And I can't see the label for this. I know it's in here. Here it is. This I was using Universal Yarn Bamboo Pop. It's a 50-50 bamboo and cotton. I think I'm saying that off the top of my head. I'm going to assume I'm right. And this is what I'm using for the Laresca. And this is Lotus Yarns Autumn Wind. And it's a 90% cotton and 10% cashmere. And I have to tell you, that cashmere makes it so soft. Even just having 10% in there, it's absolutely gorgeous yarn. Now all I got done was casting on. I did swatch for this, so I'm hoping I'm going to have a good size. And this is all I've got done. About 5 rows or so of garter, and then I've done, and you can't see it, don't want it falling off the needles. On either side you've got a few stitches and I'm starting the pattern. It's not, it kind of looks like cable, but it's not, it's like a little eyelet pattern. And once I get the laced shell off the needles, I'll be able to make some progress on that too. I just love that yarn. I know I'm going to enjoy knitting with it. Excuse me. So that is everything regarding the knitting, what I'm working on, and I have some other things on the needles which I don't show if I've not done any, made any progress on them. So I think up next is show and tell. I only have one thing to show, and there's Bindi whining again. Bindi, come here. I went to check and see what she was whining at, and she's looking down from the deck into the yard, and I can't say anything. Usually she'll whine because there's a toy out there, or a ball. Bindi, come here, babies. So she'll come up. Come on. You're going to come up? Come here, then. Come here. Jump. Good girl. Jump. There you go. There she is. What are you whining at, eh? What is the whining for? She has to be out here with me because if she was in the house, she'd be whining even more because she can't be near me. I'm just looking at a beautiful bluebird. I wish she could be sitting out here with me knitting. It's a gorgeous, relaxing place. And now that the weather's warming up a little bit, it has been quite chilly recently, I'm going to be sitting out here knitting. So, I'm getting lots of licky kisses on my hand. Oh, sorry. I'm going to put you down then. You want to say hi to everybody? Can you see? There she is. Little Miss Fluff. Yes. Boo's inside. He doesn't care to be out. He doesn't need to be next to me. She does. She's very attached to me. Alright, you can jump down or you can sit there. You're going to sit there? Okay. I'll show you again. She's just going to hang out with me. Okay, show and tell. I went to Estes Park, first time ever, and again I'm going to talk a little about my experience or what I thought about it in Girly Chatter. But because I bought something there, I'm going to put that into show and tell. This is what I bought. So all it's got is this little tag, but I just fell in love with the colours. It's a single ply, you can see. Are you getting down or what are you doing? And it's 300 metres of wool and viscose. Don't know what I'll use it for. Could be a nice cowl or a hat. The booth I got this at, I don't have the card with me. On her wall, she had lots of the different coloured skeins, and she had pictures attached to them that had that were the inspiration for the yarn. So, like some of the blues, there was pictures of the ocean. I'm going to turn that up a second. And some of the yellows and that, you know, like the desert. And this one didn't have a picture. And I was dying to see what the inspiration was because I loved the colours. She did go off and find some mother yarn. I can't remember what the blend was. And it looked, I think it was more like a boucle. Is that how you say it, the boucle? It was a bit bobbly. I didn't want that. But there was a picture attached because it was the same picture for the inspiration. And she showed me it. But I couldn't bring it with me because that picture had the details of that skein of yarn. So what I did was I took a picture on my phone, and so I was going to insert it here so you could see the picture. It was hard to capture the colours. It's quite pink, so there was one picture that didn't look like it captured it quite well. So I took a few more and adjusted the angle till I saw more pink and it was more closer to the picture that I was seeing. So I'll insert the first one, which is the pinky one, and then I'll insert the one that doesn't look as pink but it's the same picture, and you'll see what I mean about it's hard to capture colours obviously from your phone. So I loved the picture. I wish I could have brought it with me. I would have liked to have kept it. Perhaps I could print out the little picture from my phone. I don't know. Now, yes, that is all I bought at Estes. I'm just not one to go crazy. I mean, I loved all the yarn, so I couldn't possibly have everything, and I can't pick if I don't know what I've got in mind to knit most of the time. I don't like to just pick a lot of yarn. I'm leaning more towards trying to buy sweaters worth of yarn right now because I have quite a few single skeins. So this was all I bought. And with that, we'll just move into a quick book talk. Not much about book talk, not much in book talk this week. I'm still reading my monthly book choice for the neighbourhood, which was called The Secret History. I didn't write down who the author was. I did mention it was a hard read. I am starting to read a little bit more and getting to know the characters in the book. It's still just not my kind of read, but I'm going to plug away at it, and I've got till beginning of July to get through it. That's really all I've read. I've not done anything else, so there's not really much to chat about in book talk. So we'll move straight into girly chatter. This week, girly chatter, I'm going to chat about Estes Park. I'm sure most of you know, Estes Park in June has, it says it's the biggest fibre wool market in the West. And I've been in Colorado for 2 years, and this was the first chance. The first year I got here after June, and then last year, the year seemed to go by so fast I didn't have time to even think about going up there. So I went this year. The weather, it wasn't good at all. I put off going on Saturday because I checked the weather forecast and it said that it was rain forecast and thunderstorms. And I checked up at Estes Park because it's 2 hours away. So I thought, their weather might be slightly different. We might be getting thunderstorms, but they might not. But their forecast said it's possible rain, afternoon thunderstorm. So I kind of put off. And plus, Saturday morning, of all mornings, we actually slept later than we usually do. Bindi jumped up on the bed quite early, as she often does, but she kind of just snuggled down and went back to sleep. And it was 8:30 when we kind of woke up. That's late for us. So that put me off going on Saturday as well. And would you believe we didn't get any rain, and the sun kind of shone all day, and it was quite nice and warm. But I was determined to get up there, so Sunday it had to be. And the weather was a lot worse than it was on the Saturday, even though the forecast said it was going to be partly cloudy. So I thought that would be a little bit of sunshine. So it wasn't, I don't know if I mentioned Saturday, it wasn't Saturday. It was Sunday we went up there, and that's when we got the hail. So the weather was really bad here. In Estes Park it stayed dry, but it was very overcast. There was no sun all day while we were there, no sunshine, and it was really quite chilly. I actually took my the cream-coloured padded winter jacket that I've been wearing all winter. I had that on because it was that chilly for me. I think it was only like 62 or 59 degrees. So, my thoughts on Estes Park. To be honest, and I don't want to sound unappreciative, because I know there must be a lot of work goes into this, and I just was surprised at the size of it, to be honest. I had imagined something much larger. Now, I'm wondering if it's because it's the second day and the last day of the wool market. The weather was chilly and overcast, and it was very quiet. That's partly what surprised me. It wasn't a hive of activity. There wasn't many people there, and there was nothing really going on outside. We looked inside where the animals were. I took a few pictures, not that many. We saw the sheep and the alpacas. Obviously I went into the vendors section, which is where I bought the yarn. I still expected there to be a lot more in there as well. I might have considered buying like a nice yarn ball. I didn't really see any except for one booth, but they didn't have a lot of them, and nothing that took my fancy. So we wandered around a little while, and as I said, it was mainly inside. We looked at the Angora rabbits and everything, but that's it. We just looked at them. They were just sat in little cages. There wasn't anything going on outside. So whether it had already happened the day before, there wasn't any sheep trials happening, or whatever it was. The dog, I can't remember what it was saying. There wasn't anything. Now, I did look at the schedule, and I think there might have been certain times that there was going to be stuff, but the weather just put me off staying there for much longer. I think we were there less than 2 hours. And I'm wondering if it would have been better as well if I'd shared the experience with other knitters. Kristen, my daughter, came with me, and I'm sure she was expecting it to be a lot more than it was, and obviously she's not even got an interest in knitting, so it was a little bit boring for her, I think. She liked seeing the animals, would have easily brought a rabbit home because there was quite a few for sale, and I had to say, no, I'm not going to be tempted with that. But I hate to say that I was a little disappointed. And I don't think I'd go to it again unless I knew some knitters out of town were going there and I would meet up with them. It would be worth the 2-hour drive to do that, to meet you guys. I know there's another festival in, I think it's called Sedalia here. Not sure if that's about an hour or 2 hours away. But that's not till September. I might try that out. And after that, I think I'll lean more towards trying to get to a retreat so I can meet the knitters as opposed to meeting the animals. That's just my thoughts on it. You know, and I hope you don't dislike me for saying that. That really, I won't go into any Trim Healthy Mama. I'm trying to stick with it as much as I can. I've had a few off. Not off days. I start off well, and then I might have a meal that's not really on plan, but I still like it. I'll maybe go into that in a few more weeks' time. So that was everything about the Estes Park. I do want to try and go up there again. We didn't go into the town. We just went to where they have the wool market, which was the fairgrounds at Stanley Park, I think it's called. So I would drive up there again to go into the town and try to stay a night or two if we can camp. I mentioned before, I'm looking into trying to rent a little. I think that went in my hair. Go away. I wanted to rent a little camper or a pop-up camper to try camping. I'm hoping to still do that. We could go up to Estes Park, or we could just try Breckenridge, anywhere up in the mountains, at one of the beautiful campsites. Hoping that happens at some time over the summer break. And with that said, we've got one final thing, part of the title. It's a sneak peek, and it's a little news about the Kikiboo bags. Is my Etsy store. If you're not interested in hearing anything about it, I totally understand, and I just want to say thanks for joining me, and see you next week, hopefully. If you are hanging around for a little bit of news, the Kikiboo, the next kit that I'm doing, Kikiboo, no, not Kikiboo, the Book Lovers bag kit. I've got a bag, I was going to show you it. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. I'll just mention again, Michelle from Dancing Dog Dye Works is going to dye up some skeins of yarn for me in a fingering weight MCN blend to match the colours in the bag. I'll also be putting together a beaded bookmark, some paper bookmarks for other books that you might have. There'll be stitch markers in there, as there often is, and a few other goodies I'm not going to mention just yet. So do you want to see the bag? I have to say, I didn't pick this bag just because it has books on. I absolutely love the colours in this bag, and Michelle loved them as well when she saw it, and she's going to be able to dye up a skein. It's just going to look gorgeous, I know it is. So I have a wedge bag. There will be a medium-sized wedge bag available, and I'm going to be having some large squishy bags, the drawstring bags. Basically, just because that's the way I cut the fabric to get the most out of it. So, you ready? I'm going to show you the whole bag and let you drool over it. Ta-da! Feast your eyes on it and look at all the different colours. And the back is just different books on the bookshelf. That's the hummingbird flying around. And some of the fabric has little lidded dish, I guess you would call it. I love it. The inside is just going to be a nice plain cotton. The zip on these, on the wedge bags, the zips are going to be different. Some purple, some cream. So, you know, it'll still match the bag. And I'm getting on. I'm making good progress on them. I'm getting the beaded bookmarks done. Time frame. It might be more near the end of June that we get the pre-orders in the shop. But once I do, definitely, hopefully, no longer than 2 weeks before I can ship them out to you. So not a lot of waiting once you've placed your order. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have a ton of these kits. I can only sew so many bags. I think there's only going to be about 20 that will be up for available. Because I'm also working on Christmas themed bags for the shop for the Christmas in July sale. There'll also be some stitch markers with a Christmas theme, things like that, the same as we had last year. So that's keeping me busy. And in saying that, I don't think there's going to be any bags in the shop this week. I have got on my Etsy store that there would be an update tomorrow, but I think I'm going to change that, and I don't think there's going to be any bags put in the shop until the 1st of July, which will be, other than the pre-orders, the Christmas bags are going in 1st of July. The pre-orders will go in sooner once they're done, but that's just the pre-orders for these kits. I'm not going to have time to put just some, any kind of fabric that I normally do. I'm not going to have time to do those bags. But anyway, that's everything with that. And that brings us to the end of the show. Fingers crossed that the wind or the breeze that we're getting, it's gorgeous out here, but I hope it hasn't spoiled the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed sitting outside with me today. If it does, once I edit it, if it does sound and look okay, I may well do the rest of the podcasts for the summer out here. It's just really nice sitting here, and as I said, I wish you were here with me, having a nice cup of coffee or tea, or if it's later in the evening, a really nice chilled glass of wine would be beautiful out here. But I feel like you're here, so I want to say thank you for joining me here. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week ahead of you, and I hope you come back next week and join me in the knitting den. Bye guys.